cleaning agents, as well as key medical supplies like surgical masks and gloves.
Now, it's quite common that the CGSO, which is the Consumer Goods and Services Ombudsman, provides a recourse mechanism for consumers dealing with businesses operating within the consumer goods and services supply chain. On Skype now, we have the Consumer Goods and Services Ombuds CEO. Welcome, Queen Moyai. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks for joining us. What has the Ombuds seen? Many complaints, I imagine.
Absolutely. My office, in the past 5 months of lockdown, we were inundated with complaints, mainly cancellations, returns. As we all know that consumers have 6 months automatic warranty for any goods and services that they purchase. If they are not happy with them, they are allowed to return them to the retailer for a recourse of either a refund, a repair, or a replacement. So because of the lockdown, most of the businesses were not allowed to operate. They were closed down, so consumers found themselves stranded without being able to return any goods or services, or sometimes because some of the suppliers were operating under very limited staff, they were taking time to respond to the consumer. So we have seen a general significant increase in the number of complaints.
Now, let me do my public service duty and ask you to tell the public and the viewer what exactly the core mandate of the organization that you lead is.
Our mandate as the Consumer Goods and Services Ombud, we are an alternative dispute resolution body, which is we are an alternative to the National Consumer Commission. So consumers can either approach the National Consumer Commission, or they can, after not being happy with how the complaint was handled at the retail, they can escalate their complaints to us. So our mandate is to mediate those complaints, to find an amicable way of resolving complaints between consumers and suppliers.
Now, do you have a sort of judicial standing? Are you a point to go to the first point of call before people can go either to the Consumer Council or to court?
Absolutely, yes. We are the first point of call. As I said earlier, that we are an alternative to the consumer. So to avoid a much more formal environment, which is the National Consumer Commission, the consumers can approach us. The first call will be the supplier, where the consumers get their goods or services. If they are not happy about how the complaint was handled, they can escalate to us. So our approach is not a legalistic one. We try and mediate between the consumer and the supplier and find a much more amicable way to resolve those complaints.
Now, what are you seeing? Are you seeing people who are just really fed up with those price hikes? Did you see our previous guest? He said that prices like of basic foodstuffs that every household needs have just hiked up.
Absolutely. We have seen that. We have seen amongst all the complaints that we have seen around returns, around cancellations, we have also seen that consumers made their way to our office to report those price-related complaints that they had. And we have seen that despite the President's call and appeal to the retailers not to really charge exorbitant prices, we found that suppliers are still going ahead and hiking prices. And unfortunately, the South Africans had to be on the receiving point. So it is really, really a problem that we have seen even through our offices. Over the past few months, we have received about 40 complaints which relate to pricing. And those, for us, when we looked, 36% of those were related to food and beverages, 33% was home care, including the masks and sanitizers, followed by the computer accessories, as we are aware that most of the consumers had to, or most of the staff from different offices had to operate or work from their homes. So what we have seen is that when some of them had to buy some computer equipment or office furniture, we saw that when they went to the suppliers, the prices were quite high. So yes, we have seen quite a lot of those.
Now, beyond the mediation of these conflicts, since this extortionate pricing is such a rampant behavior by businesses, don't you think that the arm of the state should really muscle in to right some wrongs here? That there should be extraordinary measures taken to calm the prices?
Yes, measures, I believe that they are being taken, and I'm aware that the National Consumer Commission, they've reported that they have received more than 3,000 complaints. And as I've said earlier, because the National Consumer Commission, their role is also, they also have the role to investigate those. So we are going to see a lot of, more than the ones that have already been investigated. We're going to see more and more suppliers being under a harsh hand of the law, being taken through investigation over those price hiking, because it is quite a serious contravention of the Consumer Protection Act. And obviously we know that sometimes the hand of the law will take a little bit longer, but I must assure you that really there's something that the Commission is doing about this.
Now, I sense some kind of collaboration between you as the ombudsperson and the ombudsman in this area and the Commission. Can you tell us about your collective plans to halt the rapid rise in prices, especially as they will be affecting the South African population very adversely when the grant system is withdrawn in October?
Yeah, I think there are measures already in place where we work very closely with the NCC, and what we do as an alternative dispute resolution body, when we have exhausted all the means within our reach to resolve those complaints, what we do, those that cannot be closed at our level, we escalate to the National Consumer Commission. And indeed, we will see, since it is said that this pandemic is still going to be with us for a while, we expect that there's still going to be more and more suppliers who are going to contravene this, and we are working very closely together to make sure that we really mitigate this risk that we can see in the industry.
Now, I imagine that your office will be inundated with complaints in August because of the rise now again in food prices. How are you going to handle this? Do you have sufficient resources, and is the budget sufficient for this?
Unfortunately, as an industry-funded organization, I wouldn't say we have enough resources to deal with that. But this pandemic has really prepared us, and we have managed to set up staff to work remotely. And most of our staff are really working remotely and making sure that the calls are being received, consumer complaints are being addressed throughout this period. So we are ready, and we are working to make sure that we use technology to also try and make sure that all our complaints that we receive are being taken care of. Yes, we are under a lot of pressure because a lot of times we find ourselves having to do more with less resources that we have, but we are doing our best to make sure that the consumer is taken care of.
And how do they get in touch with you? How can the public or the consumer who is disaffected get in touch with you?
Consumers can reach us through our website, which is www.cgso.org.za, and they're able to lodge complaints through that medium. We are also present in the social media. We have a Facebook page wherein the consumers can lodge, contact us on that, and then we can direct them through other mediums in which we can be able to assist them, and they can also phone our call center or phone our office at 0117812607.
Thank you very much for joining us, Madam CEO. That was Queen Munya from the regulatory body, which is basically the ombudsman that is set up by the industry itself. The ban on cigarettes during lockdown has affected smokers from all walks of life, but instead of kicking the